pressure's in the green, all good. We're gonna prime the engine. We're gonna put some fuel with this little thing. We're gonna push this and push fuel right into the cylinder.
Yeah, like a leaf blower.
Yeah, or like a tractor or something. Yeah.
Are you watching like the bubble?
All right. So we've primed. Now we're ready to start the plane. So the first thing we're gonna do is start it up and make sure we got oil pressure. And once we've done that, we'll turn the avionics on. We'll put our headsets on. I got my feet on the brakes. The parking brake is on. The area around us is all clear. Everything looks good. Clear. Clear the area. We've got oil pressure right away. That's good. Go ahead and put your headset on.
I went and flew in a small plane for the first time the other day. And I'm still thinking about it. I'm still processing it. It was really moving in a lot of ways that I didn't expect. I was really nervous at first. Big John Denver fan growing up, as we all were, and nobody wants that. And I have 2 small kids, so I just really had to think about, am I gonna do this? My friend Brian has asked me, and I have the opportunity. Am I doing it? I really took it really seriously, which I guess everybody should. So I was mostly nervous about the takeoff and the landing because that's what they always say, is that's where things can get squirrely. But yeah, I just went for it and got in my car, drove over to the airport. And my first impression of the airport was, what a party. There are snacks everywhere. There are people in sequined boots just waiting to go somewhere cool. It was so much fun, and everybody was just so happy, and it's almost like everybody knew how lucky they were to be there. It was really sweet. I really loved that atmosphere from the get-go. Then we walked across the tarmac, and I got to meet the airplane, and she was so cute. It reminded me a lot of my dad's old cars growing up. He never had a new car. He always refurbished old cars from the 60s. So I knew that texture of fabric. I knew that smell. I knew that seatbelt configuration and sound of the clasp, and all that was really familiar to me. So here we were in this tiny old car with wings. Oh my gosh. And just a lot of trust. Just had to trust Brian a whole lot and just trust the universe that I got to have this amazing experience and it was going to be okay. Had to trust Brian a whole lot and just trust the universe that I got to have this amazing experience and it was going to be okay. Yeah, just really nervous about takeoff, but it was so quick and easy and smooth. And I loved hearing the radio chatter and how you guys communicate. I didn't realize how casual it could be, just talking to B&A, and Brian was saying, we're gonna go do some sightseeing. I didn't know that you could be, that felt so personal in such a mathematical situation, but that was neat. So a lot of surprises that I was noticing all over the place. So I'm still processing the emotional experience of it because it was really big. I'm a forest therapy guide, which means I guide people through sense-based nature connection experiences. And I spend hours of my life very zoomed in and immersed in the woods, rubbing bark, rolling cedar needles between my fingers, leaning down to the grass and feeling it with my hands and noticing what it smells like. I can get really zoomed into each and every tree or plant in a very small area. So the coolest, most mind-blowing moment for me, I think of the whole thing, was right when we reached some sort of altitude. And I looked down and we were just flying above this carpet of trees. Like it seemed unending. And this beautiful rolling pattern that reminded me why I love Tennessee. And I haven't seen it in so long because I live in urban Nashville and have felt really claustrophobic there. So just to look down and see this like banquet of forest was thrilling, just thrilling. And the way the sunlight hit one side of the little hill and then shadow was on the other side, and it was just really making the details of the contours of the earth emerge. And then I couldn't get enough. I was almost salivating just looking around at the forest. And I found little groves of pine that I could see and other little bushy trees and darker green trees and lighter green trees. And how do they all group together? And, oh, there's an outlier over there. I wonder how that seed got there and how that grew there. It was so much fun to my brain and heart. Then, of course, I leapt to watching the little houses and barns and the driveways that lead up to them. And do they have a pool? Or do they have two driveways? Or does the driveway fork off? These are the moments that are my favorite moments about flying commercially, but you only spend a few seconds at that height. I've traveled so much. I've lived and worked on 3 continents. I have traveled around the world a lot. And my favorite part of flying is the coming into land and the takeoff, because you can see where you are. It gives you a real perspective, and you can see how people live too, and you can be curious about how they got there and when they built that house and why they chose that little grove and how it sits on the contour of the land. I love it. And we got to stay at that height, and I got to go down all of these rabbit holes of human stories, one after another. I just couldn't get enough. It was so much fun. I loved it. I just loved it. I felt like a kid, and I think I said out loud when we were coming into land, I don't want to go home. Because that's how I felt. Yeah, so that was the most striking to me, I think, at first, was just the perspective that I got from being high above the place that I live, but not so high that I lost focus. It was just the perfect little amount to get me up and out of my life for a moment. As a mental health therapist, I've thought a lot about the similarities between that experience, that perspective, that height, and how similar that can be to a hypnosis state. And I also watch a lot of the psychedelic research coming and have learned and studied a lot about the brainwave state in those experiences and psychedelic experiences and in hypnosis. And there are these brain waves, this brain state that you can get in where kind of you feel more connected to the greater picture, like to the bigger universe. And that connection in itself is profoundly healing. It's something Michael Pollan talks a lot about in his book, How to Change Your Mind. That's really pivotal in these life-changing experiences that people are having with psychedelic treatment, is feeling part of the bigger and knowing your place in the world. And I felt that too. It was such a height that I felt that sensation, of course, without being on psychedelics or without being hypnotized, but it really correlates to me, this idea of air therapy. It correlates a lot. It makes a lot of sense on why I get this sense of joy from walking into that airport. And just from hearing Brian talk about his flying, I understand it's like sky shamans flying around, because they have a lot of perspective on what we mean, how significant we are or insignificant we are, because they spend a lot of time up above the noise, and that's a gift. I can see why pilots want to fly all the time, because it is a satisfying, yummy feeling to feel insignificant sometimes. And I've had a lot of angst about Nashville and how it's changed over the years, and it was just really nice. We were flying over Nashville, and there Nashville was.
Power off. Everything's off. You did it.
We did it. It was amazing.